professional, currently working with the APS with a sharp analytical mindset and a passion for process improvement, risk management, and strategic communication. Stephen brings a thoughtful and dynamic approach to leadership and delivery. His career spans government, private sector, and volunteer roles, including board positions with PMI and Toastmasters, where he champions professional development and community engagement. Stephen's unique blend of experience is matched with his creative flair, which we'll get to experience tonight. We'll find out that he's a long-time Dungeons and Dragons enthusiast, using storytelling, collaboration, and structured problem solving, both at the table and in the workplace. Fun fact, Stephen was on the winning team of last month's PMI Great Debate, maintaining his 100% debate win rate. He's never lost the debate. You might need to take it up. We're looking forward to hearing Stephen's insights and stories tonight. Please join me in giving him a warm welcome.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And for those who didn't realize that there was a little character on their seat and you may have sat on them, please stand up and grab your character. You won't quite need them yet, but keep them in mind because we'll need them slightly later when we get to the interactive session. I'm sure everyone's very excited. Let me just see, do a spacebar to change? Beautiful. All right, introduction. So, I like to think of myself as a sort of a very big mix of professional and nerd. So as we heard before, public servant, project manager, experience in that. But the real fun part starts when we get to the other side of the screen here. Oh, it's going to be 1-for-1. Excellent. Oh, no.
Old school PowerPoint.
I know, this is like back to uni days. Here we go. Oh no. Anyway, great. So, on the nerd side, D&D player, dungeon master, and a big gamer. Love some PC, love some board games. Love poker. Throw that in the nerd section because I can't quite move it across the professional section yet. I think I lose about 43 cents an hour playing poker. We're trying to bring it into the green, but that's not the topic of this discussion. But the point is, these skills across both of these, sort of professional and nerd, they seem very discordant, but today I hope you'll learn that you can actually learn a lot that can help you in your professional career through nerdy items such as D&D, reading, writing, gaming. It's all interconnected to being the best person you can be in terms of project management. So, why are we here tonight? We're here obviously to learn about D&D. So, what is Dungeons & Dragons? You've probably heard about it. I chose this picture because I thought it captured the essence of what a typical D&D campaign would be. You've got a group of friends hanging out, you know, people having snacks on the table, you know, relaxing, having fun. But there's a few key elements that you need for Dungeons & Dragons. Just before we get started, has anyone played D&D before? I know we've got one. Oh, I've got two D&Ders. Okay, excellent. Both sitting at the back. Classic D&D.
I've even got a beard. Which is a surprise, I think.
Is that your photo?
20 years ago.
Oh, did you meet them? What? I think it's here?
Yeah.
So my bad.
Sorry.
No, it's my bad. Apparently I muted everyone, so muted myself. Classic. You just get this regulated. Alright, beautiful. Oh, that's fun. My colors have changed. Wonderful. So, there's a few quintessential elements to play D&D. The most important one, sometimes the hardest to find, is friends. You cannot play D&D alone. Alternatively, you can rope about 20 people to come in and play D&D with you for a professional development. And we'll get to that in a minute. Some of you will get a chance to roll a dice. It's all very exciting. But essentially, it helps you decide, you know, if an action succeeds or fails when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons. So, that's what you need to play Dungeons & Dragons. We won't deep dive into this, but I thought, hey, look, I've got all of this great stuff. Meet Atreon Stoneweaver. He's a level 15 human fighter, very important guy. struggled through a Greek D&D campaign, and it's great stuff. But there's a few things to consider. You have character sheets as well. They are much simplified. You'll see they have been AI generated. They're a bit quirky and fun, but maybe have a read. Just get into the mindset of your character. We might get there soon. But basically what the character sheet's all about is your understanding what you're good at, what you're bad at. So you can see here, you've got at the top some strength. This guy's got 22 strength. He is killing it at strength. Great guy, really strong. But when it comes to charisma, he's got 9, which is very bad. 10 is the average, so he is less than average when it comes to communicating and sort of engaging with the people around him. So let's talk about what actually happens in D&D, because there's a lot of confused spaces. I've kind of just been throwing things at you. No one really understands what is happening in D&D yet. So there's really 2 different aspects of D&D. You've got the player and you've got the dungeon master. And as we talked about before, dungeon master is all about keeping it flowing, keeping the rules going. They're the one who come up with the story, engage with the story, and keep everything together. The players are the ones who get to enjoy that world, right? And there's some really different skills that come out from both of those aspects. When you're the dungeon master, you're keeping everyone organized, you're focused on, actually ensuring that people get there on time. Sometimes the most difficult thing you can do in a D&D campaign is getting everyone to actually turn up on the same day at the same time. It is very, very difficult to get 5 or 6 people with jobs to turn up for a 3 to 5 hour session. So that is a really important skill for a dungeon master. But let's look at the rhythm of play. What actually happens? First time thing, you'll describe the scene. So perhaps we're all in a forest. So I want you all to look at your cards, have a read. Imagine who you are. Bernard, please, who is your character?
Thorn Blackwater.
Captain Blackwater.
Yes.
Amazing. So
Thorn,
Bernard's...
you forgot the thorn.
Sorry, Blackthorn. Incredible. What have we got over here? At the back there, who have we got?
Seraphine Goldmantle.
Okay, and as she's in the forest, what might she be up to? What's happening over there?
Watching, keeping an eye on everything.
Okay, she's watching, keeping an eye. Over here, what's going on in the forest?
I'm Sneaks the Unseen. I'm a spy, but I didn't tell you.
Okay. We have potentially the worst spy known to wish. and this is just a little taste. So we're describing the scene, we're sort of getting a sense of what's happening, and we'll get into it soon, but then you start to describe what players can do. So maybe there's a path through the forest. You might hear some animals off in the distance, a roar of thunder, some smoke from a fire that you don't quite know what it's about. And all of a sudden, now you have all of these things you can do. Maybe your spy wants to go and investigate that smoke. Could be another spy, camping out in the forest. Captain Blackthorn might want to just keep us down the road on the way to the city. That's right, you're keeping the caravan on track. And then, you kind of go back and forth. So you have this entente where the players will tell you what you want to do. Bernard might say, I just want to walk straight down the path. And then all of a sudden, trees might fall across the path, we'll have adversity to deal with, and we'll have problems to solve. And I think that's really a long-winded way of getting to the crux of how D&D can help you in your career. Not only are you sort of dealing with problem solving, you're doing some creative thinking, you're thinking outside of the box, sometimes very far outside of the box, because you've got magic, you've got all sorts of different crazy things going on. But as the dungeon master, for example, you're the one who's creating that aspect. You are working with them, thinking of problems and engaging with players. And I think that's a really important skill to capture. So, what have we got next here? So let's just, here we go.
It's okay.
So, in that melting pot of D&D, let's run through some of these skills. We won't go through all of them. Let's think about the player. So negotiation, typically a skill that's quite difficult to get into unless you're sort of getting thrown into the deep end at work. But a way you can improve your skills through Dungeons & Dragons, for example, Bernard might be hanging out in the shop, and all of a sudden he wants to
No, I don't know.
buy, come on, Captain Blackthorn. But essentially, you can start engaging in all of these different activities that you would never have an opportunity for. It's really great for young people getting into workplace, for example, where you might have never even negotiated. Your negotiation might be when can you take leave at work. But suddenly in D&D, you're negotiating for the fate of a kingdom. You are, talking with a shopkeeper, bartering them down to buy the most important gear. You're talking to a demon and sort of maybe trying to convince them not to kill you all. That's something that comes up quite a lot. What about risk management? That's an interesting one to think about. Risk management is something I love as part of D&D. It's also something I love as part of my work. But you sort of think, oh, risk management, how does that work? But it's interesting stuff like, you see a treasure chest in a cave and you're like, okay, do I just run up and grab that treasure chest? Or am I going to sort of think about this a bit clearly and think, why is there a treasure chest in the dungeon straight ahead? Should I consider looking around for traps? Maybe think, who left this treasure chest here? And that kind of thinking is really important. Let's dive across to the Dungeon Master. I think this is where the skills really grow. As a player, you can kind of sit back and relax, but as the Dungeon Master, if you're not putting the effort in, it's essentially just people sitting around a table laughing at jokes. Really, nothing happens. And I think the real skill that you're going to drive out of being a Dungeon Master, and perhaps the most important for project management, is improvisation. I think that skill is very underrated. It's very underutilized. Say the client calls you up and they say, I need to do this thing, and you have no idea, maybe no idea what they're talking about, but you don't know where to go from there. Suddenly, some people might choke, they don't know where to go, but if you are a very good improviser, you can at least start to build the baseline of a plan. You can engage with that client, you can move the discussion forward, and even start to think, okay, well, here's what I would do, what do I need? You start thinking, blah, 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 you layer, and all of a sudden, these skills become really important. I think facilitation is another really important one as well. As a project manager, you are in many meetings, and usually you're the one who probably has the least skills in terms of the work you're doing, and really you're just there to make sure the other people are pushing forward as much as they can, right? So your goal is not to sort of do the work, your goal is to make sure everyone else can do the work effectively, and I think that's really the role of a Dungeon Master. So those kind of skills, very transferable. Let's just pop along. All right, yeah, some practical examples. We kind of talked about this one already, but you enter an ancient dungeon that no other travelers have returned from. Do you rush to the treasure, beating out the other adventurers, or do you proceed with caution? This is another example of the risk versus reward scenario, and you can really start to learn some lessons there. What would, Mr.
Risk.
He'd be taking the risk, he'd be going for it.
Going for it.
That's right, and I think it's a really interesting thing, because once you take your character into consideration, that's where you can start to think, okay, what would my character do? So for example, over here, what do you think your character would be up to if they went into the dungeon looking for some treasures? Would they be a risk taker, or would they be, going straight for that treasure?
They would not be a risk taker.
Okay.
Their skills are logistics, discipline, and rallying.
Okay.
So I think they'd be just assessing the risk.
Very
Yeah.
good, there you go. And I think you can really put yourself in different shoes, right? So if you're a very cautious person in real life, suddenly you can be a crazy, destructive barbarian out in the world and take life by the heels, right? And that's something you really can't do in life, and D&D gives you that opportunity. So, what have we got next here? The disagreeing party. This one happens more than you would think. There's 5 friends who come along to play a game together, and all of a sudden no one can decide what they want to do. So no one can decide on the best course of action. How would you convince others that your plan is best? Or would you simply listen to the team and agree with their approach instead? And I think this is one of the really important things of D&D, where you get to have those fun conversations, you get to play around with being, hey, maybe you've got the spy character. I'm assuming Dom is nothing like his character in real life, and you can
definitely lead you the wrong way.
Yeah. But okay, let's someone over here in the back there. What kind of things would your characters be up to? Right up there. If you were in a disagreeing party, would you be the agreeer or would you be more of an arguer? What are we thinking?
I think this character is going to agree and wait for everyone to decide what they want to do,
Okay.
and then make their move.
Excellent. And there we have it. We're starting to think, what would our characters do? You know, it's very important stuff. Let's go on to the next one here. This one happens more than you would think a lot. You set up an epic quest to save a princess or recover an artifact, and now you find yourself at a cooking contest. You're spending about 3 hours of the day trying to, cook the best strudel or something. And this is a really good example of how Dungeons and Dragons can teach you to stay on track, not do some scope creep. But generally speaking, this will always happen. You will find yourself way off track, and you have to find yourself back to the path. And it's a job for the players, but mostly it's a job for the Dungeon Master. So not only will they sort of be like, okay, if the players want to do this cooking contest, I'll sort of do it, and you'll be doing the cooking contest, and you sort of think, how can I bring this cooking contest back to the main storyline? And that tends to happen, if the client says, oh, this is the new thing, we've got this new AI tool, we need to chuck it in, you're like, okay, fantastic. How can we sort of roll that in back to the main sort of deliverable and piece of scope? And I think, objective and scope management, another great example there. So, let's do a little, let's give it a try. So, welcome adventurers. You are all merchants in a merchant caravan traveling from the City of Gold at the top there down to the Atharan Harbour down on the river. You've all sort of ready to set out, and your objective as a general caravan team is to safely make it through the forest and reach the markets of the harbour. So before we get into that, I think it'd be a great opportunity to get us into some character a little bit. So I'd like to spend 2 minutes, turn to the person next to you, and with your character in mind, introduce yourself, why are you at the caravan, and are you excited? What's on your mind? So we're all at the City of Gold, we're ready to set off on our grand adventure down to the harbour. Please, let's have a little chat.
In a real game, I probably wouldn't play this.
Okay. Alright, beautiful. Everyone's met each other. Would anyone like to did anyone have a really interesting party member next to them? Would anyone like to share? Dom, who do you have next to you over there?
I have a man who was doing a similar thing but was afraid of the forest,
Okay.
and therefore decided that the caravan was a place of safety and would participate with the group rather than try and do the
Risk management.
Safety in numbers, excellent. You've got to keep your goods safe. At the back there, who's over here?
I lost my voice. You go.
No.
That's his character, lost his voice.
This is Nimble Reed. He's just trying to get.
Yes, my character is unbelievably, unlike me, a tightrope walker.
Okay,
And,
very good.
It's quite small and
It's very short.
diminutive.
That'll come in
My
handy.
job is to get to the harbour where I have to actually go and have a walk across the road for money across sharks. So I don't really care how I get there. I just have to be there at a certain time and
Alright,
complete the task.
you're on your way.
Scope management.
Yeah, indeed. What about over here? Who have we got over there?
So I'm Talia Scream. I'm a black market merchant.
Oh, okay. Probably don't want to tell people that in the caravan, Got to keep some things secret, right? Communicate only what needs to be communicated. That's right, so we've got a black market dealer over here, so everyone watch out for that. What about over here? What have we got?
Me?
Yeah.
Rufus Grambly Gut. I'm a cook. I want to win the harbor's annual stew competition.
Okay, beautiful. Alright, so here we are at the harbour. We're not at the harbour. Here we are at the City of Gold. We're making our way down the golden path through the forest. At first, the lawn is mowed. We're making our way through the hills. There's farmlands from either side and everything's great. caravan's moving through, everything is going as good as can be. But can I get someone up here who would like to roll a dice? Get in here, Bernard. Roll this d20, see what happens.
15.
Alright, beautiful.
20. Yeah.
So, what was your name again? Captain Thorn is making his way ahead of the caravan. He has guided you all successfully through the road. You're making great speed, and all of a sudden, night begins to fall. The forest grows a bit closer. Perhaps some of you in the party are thinking, this might be an opportunity for me. But as night falls, I get you to roll a dice over here. Okay. And what was your character's name again?
Captain Marla Stayholt Burrell.
It's a long name. Captain Marla. Beautiful. And you get through the forest, you're thinking all is going well, but all of a sudden, the road is blocked. There is a giant tree strewn across the road. What would you like to do? Does anyone have a solution to this tree across the road?
Burn
Burn it. Beautiful. Your relevant skills to burn the...
Pole vault.
Huh?
Pole vault.
Sorry?
Pole vault.
Pole vault. All right. Beautiful. So you jump on across, leaving the caravan behind. What's your character's name over there?
So I'm the healer.
The healer. So the caravan's stuck behind the tree. Your healer has pole vaulted and made he's got sacks of gold and things to sell, making his way down to the down to the town. Beautiful.
Provide spiritual guidance to the
Well, you're providing spiritual guidance through showing everyone how it's done.
out pole vault.
Anyone else have a
I'll get the
solution?
I've got a leadership
Oh,
role.
right.
So I would say lift the caravan, get together and lift the log up.
All right, there we have a solution. So, we have an idea to lift the log up. Who would like to help our captain
I've got
over
the
here?
leadership.
Oh, so you're
Capability.
taking
I'm just
a
making sure you do
dictatorship
it.
leadership.
Exactly.
You need to do it.
All right.
Who are you can find a woodcutter in some of these?
Yeah. Well, I might be a woodcutter. Who are you delegating to undertake this task?
Oh, my friend over here.
Oh,
Because
really?
we've got another leadership
Stealth.
role. Other people that are sneaky out there.
Can I
Might have a
suggest?
soul in there.
Can I suggest a different route?
Yep.
I am a pathfinder.
Okay. Well, come on up here and roll a dice. Let's see if you can navigate a path through the forest.
What do the numbers mean?
Yeah.
Well, essentially, any dice you choose.
He goes along.
All right. So our pathfinder looks around the forest and thinks, oh, perhaps we could go down this path. And you all look to the side, and you see the path that she has chosen is full of brambles, rocky roads, some mud. It looks like a terrible choice. Would you like to go down this path?
Use my leadership skills again and say no.
So we're using our leadership, we're making decisions, it's all going fantastically. All right, so I'll say because there's like 20 of us, we can all lift up the log. Usually you would do a roll for that. So you'd say, great, let's roll the dice. Say it's a really heavy log, you need to roll a 12 to get there. You roll a 13, the log's lifted up. You roll less, maybe you'll break your back. And your healers ran down the road, so you'll be screwed. So, we'll make our way. The tree has been lofted up to the side. We'll make our way through the forest. Do you think, hey, should we press on through the night, or should we set up camp? What do you think? Anyone have any ideas who hasn't spoken yet?
Entertainment to me.
Camp sounds good to you?
More opportunity to camp.
Okay, more
More.
Brilliant. All right, well, unless anyone has an objection, we all set up camp, the camp caravans, they all sort of make a nice little circle, keeping the forest at bay. A nice roaring fire in the middle keeps the night away and the cold away, and you're feeling very warm and hearty. Where's the cook at? Is the cook around?
Yes,
Get up here, cook. Let's roll the dice. Roll me a d20 here, and
You find some mushrooms.
let's.
Too soon.
So our cook has cooked this beautiful meal. Maybe he did find some questionable mushrooms and thought, hey, I'm going to throw them in anyway. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? Someone threw a dehydrator off to the side. Don't see it anyway. You all tuck into your meals and you start to feel a little queasy, a little sick, as if, oh, this meal doesn't feel quite so good. And as you try and rest, your night is interrupted by gurgling tummies and you're feeling quite sick. A few people go off and vomit to the side. It's a disaster. That's why you always have a better cook. But nevertheless, we wake up, some of us covered in vomit. It's a bit of a sad time. And we decide to make our way through. The camp's packed up. We head back down the road. Now, as we're heading down the road, did anyone take any nefarious actions as everyone was asleep? Oh, we've got a suspicious looking individual at the back there. What nefarious actions were you taking, Simon?
Well, probably stealing other people's goods.
Oh! So, what was your character's name again?
Captain Thorne.
Captain Thorne. As he awoke, his stomach is made of steel. He didn't vomit a single time.
True.
But as he checks his beautiful chest, which he just got from the lovely thing before, it's gone. His gold is gone, chest empty. He looks around, everyone's looking very innocent, except for this one person at the back who has a bit of a sack full of gold. Can you roll me another d20 here, Bernard? We'll see if you manage to spot your goods hiding around. Alright, hold on. We're doing it. So, can you roll oops. Give me a roll.
More than me.
Whatever's up top.
10.
Oh,
See? I got him.
Meets it, beats it. Bernard? Sorry, Captain.
Captain Thorne.
Captain Thorne.
Blackwater.
None the wiser. None the wiser.
4 different actions.
So, you've lost your goods, but the caravan's still on its way, so your kind of media objectives here. Just your personal goals are
I will get him at the end.
Beautiful. So we move back down the road. We're moving along. We've made it about 3/4 of the way now. The trees begin to, get less thick. You smell the water in the air. You even hear the sort of creaking of ships on the water. Would anyone else like to do anything as we make our way down to the town?
Entertainment.
No, you're off down the road. What are we up to over here?
Definitely I'll be entertaining. I was just thinking, meanwhile, when everybody was sick, I'd definitely be telling everybody at the caravan that he's not a good leader. And look where we are now.
Wow.
When he left, I would definitely be cracking jokes, but now the well-being has left. And we're gonna be, mentally sick now on our way. So yeah, I'll be cracking jokes on like everyone. Definitely entertaining people.
Maybe people are feeling just a little bit lighter with the jokes as they're still feeling a bit ill from the terrible mushroom stew. How about you at the back there? What are you up to?
As they are telling jokes, I'm eavesdropping and listening into various conversations and deceiving them into camping again. And I will signal my crew to come and take away his gold.
And how would you deceive them into, what's your excuse to stop the caravan?
Yeah, because people have not been feeling very well, so we need to rest up, re-energize, and
Makes sense.
get some more mushrooms.
Better mushroom.
Immunity.
Sounds great to me. You set up camp again. Everyone's kind of avoiding the meals. It's not too, it's a bit too much for everyone else. And you're kind of hanging out. Someone's telling jokes, maybe playing some lute or something. And what kind of what's your crew? Are you just going after the gold of your colleague there, or?
No, whatever we can get our hands on and sabotage their the caravan, and essentially go for the clothes or chest and gold and
Wow, the whole 9 yards. All right. So
that's what my kind.
I think I have to.
That's his job.
Yeah, because my role is to deliver the caravan on time without any scandal.
Okay.
So
what
I would-
skills do you have?
There's already been vomiting and.
We can keep that quiet.
Yeah.
So my skills are logistics, discipline and rallying.
Okay,
So
well.
the people who were on the side of moving the caravan on and not being involved in getting, just back and things like that, like the,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Alright, well, as everyone's sort of hanging out in the caravan, you know, there's some new faces in the group, and you actually notice that these people are actually not in the caravan. What would you do? Would you sort of let these people walk around, or would you do something?
Definitely have a chat and find out who they are.
All right.
What's their business?
Having a chat,
Yeah.
right? Well, excellent. What do you mean, what's my business? I'm here in the caravan.
But you're new to the caravan, so you.
I've been here
haven't
the whole
come
time.
down From the city of gold, no you haven't.
Yes,
You just do
I've
it.
been here the whole time. Look, I know this. You know, I've been here the whole time.
No, you haven't, because when I was the leader and I asked you to lift that log, you were not there.
Why? I
You
helped
are
lift the
validated.
log.
No, you
didn't I?
didn't.
You saw me lift the log.
You didn't eat the mushrooms.
Your cook said last night.
You did not eat the mushroom, that's what he said.
Feeling.
No, I think you were there. You were
Oh.
feeding the horses. You were feeding the horses.
Thank you. Very good. Yes.
Not having any vomit.
No vomit here. No, I think that's very good. You do notice that we indeed were not there, and you managed to chase us off. So with that, you've managed to defeat these random bandits. Maybe you get away with just Sad's bit of gold only. So we'll make our way through, and we will make it down to the harbour. And as we get there, you know, the journey has been a bit tumultuous, but we've made it. Some people have lost some of their goods, but your objective was met. Yes. Some people have tried to derail us, but we managed to make it. And that is a very dodgy example of how D&D can run. Usually with 4 or 5 people, you'll have a whole character sheet, you'll have your skills, you'll have a backstory, and you'll have more than 3 minutes to think about your character from a very small piece of paper. But as you can see, it can kind of be a very fun, interactive game, and honestly, like, it's an interesting thing, because you can sort of make something from nothing. All I have is this picture and that text. There's nothing else planned, everything else just kind of comes out of nowhere. Interact with the cook, interact with the bandit, have some spy intrigue, you know,
I'm
a man with a
really in
chest.
disguise. I'm a prince.
Okay, a French prince from the city of gold. Beautiful.
Alright, what is the dice do?
But what do the dice do? It's a very good question. So, if you want to get into the nitty gritty, the D20 dice is basically the way that you interact with the world. So if there was no dice, you could just say, I do this and I do that. You know, I cook a beautiful stew, I lift the log. But the dice turn it into a game. So when you cook your stew, you roll the dice. Usually you have things called it's like a DN. I don't actually know what it stands for. It's a difficulty rating or something. But essentially it's like, to cook a stew, maybe you need to roll better than an 8. Because you rolled a 6, you failed. Or a 4, I think it was even. So that's what the dice do. So that is an example of some D&D. Let's look at some key takeaways here. Gamifying your skills and experience development is a great way to make learning fun. So I think, you know, everyone's been in a training course. You've sat through it and you thought, oh, this is a bit boring. But you can pick up a lot of those same skills by doing fun things. An example for D&D, you're picking up communication, negotiation, you know, working in a team, problem solving. You're thinking about how can you be a bit more, you know, solve problems on the fly, pick things up as they come. An example of poker, I really love poker. It's great for math, great for game theory, strategy, really enjoy it. As a player or dungeon master, you'll push yourself in ways you can't really safely do in the workplace. So, you know, you were never, well, maybe, you know, maybe you will be a, you know, a leader of a caravan saving everyone, but it's a really great experience to sort of push yourself out there, start experiencing new things, and you can be the crazy bandit. I hope you're not robbing anyone in real life, but I thought you did a very good job of trying to manipulate the group. Well done.
We are APS.
Yeah. But it's a great way to sort of explore yourself. And an example, actually, I was telling a few people this as well, but you can actually play D&D on the NDIS, for example. People with autism and ADHD, for example, they can go around playing D&D to learn how to be social, engage at the table. And it's a really great way, because honestly, for those people, it can be a bit scary to interact socially. But all of a sudden, if you're third act the barbarian, you're like, hey, third act can speak. So then all of a sudden you're spending 3 or 4 sessions speaking as third act the barbarian, and now you're like, oh, actually, maybe I can, socialize and speak. So it's a really great way to, expand your experiences. So D&D doesn't have to be a high barrier of entry. Really, all you need is about 4 friends, which is not easy sometimes. Some dice, and someone brave enough to dive into the role of the Dungeon Master. So as I said, the only real person who needs to read the rules is the Dungeon Master. So that's pretty much the only barrier to entry. There's free rules online, so you can get into it. It's pretty easy to get into. Obviously, when you get further into it, there's stuff like you can get miniatures, you get more dice. I personally own like at least 100 different dice. These are just some of my favorites that I've brought along. The bag is actually full of dice, and you tend to pick up a lot of different junk. I guess, let me just move along to the next one here. Oh, good. So let's move on to a bit of a Q&A, but first of all, feel free to connect with me if you'd like. You can learn more about D&D through D&D Beyond, which is essentially a free way you can get the rules. And if you ever actually do want to get into D&D, maybe you like, maybe I want to get into the real thing, Dungeons & Dragons ACT, it's a Facebook group, and essentially there's people posting all the time like, hey, I need people to play, or I need something like this, and it's a great way to meet people. So I guess, any questions from the group here in relation to D&D?
Is a Dungeon Master like a project manager? Is that the equivalent? Because I'm trying to make the...
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think...
Or is he the program manager?
Well, now that you think about it, I like, let's say this, the Dungeon Master who's doing a one-shot, which is a one game, they can be a project manager.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone who's running a whole campaign, they can be a program manager. So basically how it works is, you'll do one session, everyone will come together, you'll play a game, and then essentially that can go on. I'm in a game at the moment, and it's been going for about 5 years, and we play pretty much every month. So we have played every month for the last 5 years, and I have about 33,000 words of notes in a Word document. And it's just a really great time. But I would say, the equivalence is kind of not really one-to-one.
Do you play with the same people for the whole 5 years?
For that one, yes. Sometimes it's Canberra, so we do lose some people, we gain some people. But for the most part, it's the same people, yeah. It's pretty fun.
Keep it set up for 5 years.
Oh, no.
Okay.
So,
You have to use your tail in 5 years.
so the good thing
That's
about
someone's popular partner.
Yeah. The great thing about D&D is essentially all you need, really, at the basic level, is you need maybe some notes if you're the DM. So you need to have at least you need to have an idea if you're going to go from the City of Gold to the harbour, right? You need to know where the plan is going. Some people will have little post-it notes that just have like one word on them, and you'll make a whole session out of that. Some people go the full 9 yards. They'll have like different documents and plans and plots and all sorts of crazy stuff. But really, you can just move. You pick it up and you go basically. So you don't need to keep it set up. Yeah. Shoot.
Is there an online version?
So kind of. You can play online. It's just the exact same as playing in person, but you're playing online instead. But there is sort of equivalence. So there is some video games that are kind of the equivalent. Probably the best one at the moment is called Baldur's Gate 3. And essentially it's just basically D&D, but a game.
Follow-on question, and probably Raj is thinking the same. Can you use AI?
Actually, This, every single card on here was generated by AI. I didn't sit down and create 20 characters, that would be ridiculous. That map actually was generated by AI, which I thought was really beautiful, honestly. And the prompt itself was just basically like, give me a fantasy map with the City of Gold and the Harbor of Acheron. And it's like, here you go, bam, first quote. But it's really, using AI in D&D is actually really handy. For example, you walk into a tavern and I have this one player in this group, and everything they ask, they're very much like a child in that they say, what's their name? Why are they here? What does their family do? And I'm just like, oh no. So I can literally just like, tell me everything about this bartender, and it'll spit out like a whole thing. And you can feed it stuff like your campaign setting, you can tell it, some context about your world, and all of a sudden, hey, now you're also learning about AI. There is some people have tried to use AI as like a DM, so you can actually talk to AI and be like, be my dungeon master, and you can kind of work through a D&D campaign. But it doesn't really work too well. It's kind of fine in the first instance, but kind of needs human touch, I think. Any other questions?
Have you tried to bring this into our workplace? For example, you're running agile workshops, and you could say your persona, your product owner, your tester, let's start playing, abstract yourselves from real world, but kind of keep the relevance, and that will really trigger some thinking, ideas.
I think it could be really fun. But the problem I see is that I think in the workplace, you might get hit by people being like, oh, is this a waste of time?
That's why I'm saying trying, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you can start to think of things like, but I think like, how far would you take the persona, right?
Yeah.
Like, would you say you're an elf barbarian who wants to, have a streamlined UI process, or it's an interesting way of thinking about it. But I think actually, as like a team exercise, I think it'd be a fantastic thing. The only problem is it takes around 2 to 3 hours to play a proper session.
Right.
I mean, hey, we did one in like 10 minutes, but it was kind of a bit.
But in a similar sense, I mean, really brainstorming in the workplace, it's similar.
Yeah.
It's similar, right? You go in there and you are all coming with different views.
Yeah.
We have to solve a problem, go from A to B, and then you think about it. And I think what this teaches, and I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I just have. Now, but one of the things that I figured, negotiations, figure out who's doing what, right, within the team, learn the team environment. So basically you learn every character that you have, and you figure out what they're gonna do, hopefully, right, and then you deliver. Right, and I think because everything is thinking outside the square, right, outside the box, and figure out, you just open mind. I cannot shut myself, this is the way I'm gonna do it.
Well, I'd actually, as you say that, I was thinking it's probably a good way to sort of break down some team dynamics as well, right? Like if you've got like someone who, you've got the leader and you've got the team, have a D&D session, maybe someone else can be the DM, and now all of a sudden this guy's a gnome, the gnome wizard. But any other questions? We have one.
How do you think Parliament House would like that in your DLO role?
Would they like D&D? Who knows? Maybe they'd love it. I actually think there's a lot of skills that you could take from D&D that probably would help you in the Parliament. Great speeches. I've had some fantastic speeches that people have just pulled out of their butts in the middle of D&D, and you're like, where did that come from? Or like, when you've been playing for 5 years, you start to get these heartfelt interactions with the characters, and you're like, oh my goodness, like I might even cry. And I think there's a lot of transferable skills, but probably the most important one that I think would help you in Parliament House is that responding to the unknown question, right? So someone throws a question at you, a log falls down, what do? Like your brain is already thinking solutions. Like you're already thinking. Huh? It's that agility of the mind to sort of come up with problems and solutions and sort of keep moving, right? Because some people get stuck.
It gets you out of your shell.
Gets you out of your shell. This
is the main thing that if you look at it, if somebody's introverted and go and play this thing, they'll be.
Well, yeah, and usually what happens is it's always this fun thing where An introvert will play for 3 sessions, and then all of a sudden, they'll start actually speaking as their character, and everyone's like, yeah, come on, go, you beauty, like, and it's really exciting, because like, once you break down that barrier of, oh, my character does this, to I do this, and that's where you start really getting into D&D, because you've dropped the theater of the mind where you're like, I'm just playing a character, and now you're like, I am this character, and that's
Stephen,
what I like
actually,
about
when we were in Odyssey, in our team, we have a team meeting and he decided, oh, we're gonna do trivia, right? So half of the meeting's team stuff and the other half is trivia. And really, it just broke the shell down. Everybody was just, it was a fun event.
Yeah.
It was really, it makes a difference.
Play D&D at work, everyone. You have my permission to take 3 hours out of the day do a session. I'll come and DM it for free. No worries.
Everyone can join me in thanking Stephen.
Yeah.